So I'm Jeffrey Moss. My channel is on YouTube at Jeffrey Moss, no spaces, and I've been on for about a year and a half. And I focus pretty much exclusively on e-ink note-taking devices.
My name is Vladimir. My channel is Vladimir Kostek, just my name. And I pretty much focus on long-term tech reviews. And more recently, I've been really into e-ink because I find it like as a really invaluable tool. And yeah, that's pretty much my channel.
All right, and I'm Roderick, and I'm like what my channel rants about tech, and I do it mainly e-ink, and I'm trying to get into other areas of technology, but mainly e-ink right now. So that's it.
Awesome. And some of you may already know this because this is my channel we're streaming from this time, and we're going to rotate that. But I'm Ed Finn, and I'm on Organizing for Change. And this is I kind of started this as a hobby, just messing around, talking about organization. First review I ever did was a Rocket Book, and threw that out there and kind of said, here's this thing to go digital and get rid of paper. And then I did the Supernote, and that just kind of had a life of its own. So I do quite a bit of commentary on that, but a lot really on just getting organized, how you organize, finding the right devices for you, and kind of infuse my journey into that. But that's kind of how I think this got started, with some comments on each other's posts. And Jeff said, hey, we should do a live stream.
What inspired you to do your YouTube videos?
I guess at the time, I started my channel actually 7 years ago. And I've only in the past year or so, I've been really more consistent about it. But just more as a hobby, there were certain things I was on subreddits about, and I found some things on the Reddit and just wanted to share some stuff. And so I created my first video, and it had some success, and some people enjoyed the actual process of me teaching them something. And it kind of got me into the actual video realm. I come more from a photography background, but I've really been kind of enjoying playing around with video and learning the intricacies of it, and just sharing information and also learning about stuff. I think that's one of the biggest things I've taken from my YouTube channel is that when someone comments on a video, there's a lot of times where I'm reviewing a product and then I end up learning a lot more about the product because of stuff that YouTube has enabled, it was really awesome. And that's one of my favorite aspects of it, for sure.
I want to riff off of that because that's kind of similar to me. And then I kind of started posting on Reddit, and I like Reddit a lot, actually. And I think the communities on Reddit for e-ink are generally pretty good. But there is something very limited about the format. And then being able to go over to YouTube and actually be able to show the video and to go a little bit more in depth and have more visibility, frankly, is a big reason why I made that jump. So very similar. It's interesting. What about you, Rod?
Yeah, well, I mean, my journey is kind of similar to Vlad's. I mean, I come from learning video and photography as a hobby. So I've always kind of had cameras around and done stuff, but never anything significant. So just basically just learning. But I've always been into technology. So that was one thing that I've always wanted to explore talking about. So I got some time on my hands after getting out of retail, and was like, okay, now's I got some time. Now's the time to do it. And so I started the YouTube channel. I think I started it maybe a little over a year ago, and just didn't know what to do at first. And then one day, I think in April, I just decided, okay, now's the time. And just started talking about, it's funny because I was expecting to do technology as a whole, just talk about everything. But someone brought to my attention an e-reader as a way to keep notes more organized, because they realized that I was super unorganized with my current note-taking solution, which was a notebook and a bunch of index cards. And so after losing index cards and then not being able to find notebooks with lots of ideas and stuff that I had in them, it was okay. She's like, well, just try this thing. It's it's supposed to be a digital note-taking device that you can keep all your thoughts in, and everything will be in one spot. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll try it. It sounded like the Newton that I had tried years and years before. And then that was it. After I got into that, it was no turning back. It was like I was super into e-ink at that point, the technology. Just it just seemed magical. Just the way it works is a super magical system, and I fell in love with it.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think I kind of I previewed this a little bit in my intro, but I really got into this during COVID. So I was working for a municipal library at the time, and pandemic time, I was working at a municipal library. We had to turn ourselves into a cloud economy or a cloud institution when we were using tape backups. So it was like way back in the day. And there were many nights I was up late trying to help with all of that. And I found My Deep Guide, and I found Kit Betts Masters. And I was like, wow, I've been wanting to use something to take notes besides pad and paper forever. And there really wasn't anything there. I mean, I know Sony did it with DPT and some of the stuff early on, but it was never quite to where it would really work for what I needed. And so I think I watched every tutorial imaginable on books, on Remarkable, Supernote, all of them, even Quaderno, all of that, and settled on the Supernote. And I haven't used a piece of paper in 3.5 years, other than if I leave it somewhere and I have to like pull a pen out of my briefcase. So why did I start doing videos? Because I was like, this is really cool, and here's my workflow. Maybe it'll help somebody. And that was kind of the journey I started on. Got almost no views on anything till I hit Supernote. And then it was, it jumped a bit. But it was but that was it. That's what got me into it. Seeing other people who were relatable doing it and having a good time doing it and open to having me ask them questions. That was pretty cool. It pulled me in to be able to do this.
What you reminded me of is, before I got my first device, and I started with the Books Note Air. You go to my office at work, and you'd have stacks of different writing pads, or you have individuals like print. I would take paper out of the printer tray, and then do notes on that, or I'd have my stickies around the rim of my monitor, little things to do. It's all gone. If you come into my office, you rare to see even a single sheet of paper. If there is one, it's probably something I'm pinning to the wall or whatever. So it's pretty amazing how much. My whole life they've talked about the paperless society, right? This vision of getting rid of paper, and I don't think that ever became real for me until I had one of these devices.
And then, the cool thing is about these devices is that I don't think they could have worked in the world we lived in before, just because of the connected nature of everything right now. Exporting, importing things, all of these devices have multiple ways that you can go about doing that, which makes it so useful. I think that's the biggest difference between me using these kind of devices now and me using these devices, maybe 20 years ago.
Yep. Okay, so kind of riffing off of that, in terms of like your YouTube videos, what is kind of the most difficult thing about that? What's been the most rewarding thing about doing your channel? And I guess Vlad, will go back to you.
Sure. For sure, for me, the hardest thing was, I think, getting to a point where I could be consistent. And like I said, I've had my channel for 7 years, but I was very sporadic about posting stuff. It was just kind of like when I felt sparked with creativity to like make something, I would do that. And essentially, I actually, kind of like Rod was saying, the Remarkable 2 was pretty pivotal in me organizing and like figuring out a workflow and scheduling stuff for my YouTube channel. And now I still use it for like big picture stuff, but these other devices too are really pivotal for that as well. And so I think I've gotten to a stride where I can like put out content more regularly now, and I've worked on the consistency. But I think that was probably the biggest challenge for me. And then the most rewarding, I mean, I already talked about like learning a lot from the users and people I talk to, but then I think next to that is stuff like this, right? Like connecting with like-minded people and having an outlet to just discuss technology, which I talk about 24/7 anyways. So
that's the life, man. The most challenging part, would be knowing when to quit. Like that's my thing. Like I don't know when to stop doing something and be like, okay, stop, move on, you're done. So like, if I could learn that, I'd be okay, you know. But that's the hardest part for me is knowing when to say you're done with something and move on to something different. Because I'll stay on one thing forever.
Like, do you mean like in production? Like, what do you mean by?
Yeah. Like all parts. Like when I'm scripting something or implementing the idea or just in the editing process. Like I'll go and just be like, okay, there's more to do here, and, you know. But I'll have to find spots to stop and say stop, and then go on to the next stage of what you're doing. So that's the most difficult part for me is stopping doing something and then moving, knowing when done is done.
Yeah, perfection is the enemy of productivity, right?
Yeah, like my brother told me the other day, he was like, you got to remember that done beats perfection, or done beats perfect when perfect isn't done. So I'm trying to carry that through, you know what I mean? So
What's the most rewarding then?
This, like literally the community, you guys, the people in the comments, just the community is probably the most rewarding part. I mean, I'm a hermit, man. So without this kind of community, I probably wouldn't meet very many people. so it's good to like meet people and be in that space doing that.
I agree with you guys 100% on just the community piece of this. I just want to jump into the reward first. The community piece of, I didn't expect that. So it was one of those things when I popped into it, I thought, I might put out a few videos. People might see them. Of course, I got some really snarky ones at the beginning in the comments of, you know, your lighting's awful and, you know, all of this other stuff and your audio's awful. But it's okay because, you know, I was doing it at the time with my document camera as my only camera. And so I was doing both things with the same, you know, camera and trying to piecemeal this. But you know, having met Kit and then having him bring me on his live stream and us having that conversation and community members in his chats saying, hey, you should talk to this guy. It was like, wow, you know, here I am. I've got, at the time, I think it was 300 subscribers. And all of a sudden I'm on Kit's channel, and that I didn't expect. And then when I met the three of you, it was like, wow, this is even, you know, we're all kind of in this same struggle. We're all putting out content, trying to be consistent. And I think to Vlad's point, the consistency piece has been hard for me, and to Rod's point, because, you know, the old saying is perfect isn't the enemy of the good. And you have to just know when to say it's good enough to go and accept that it's not always going to be perfect. And I think that was my biggest challenge, was trying to balance, because I have a full-time job. This is a side hobby. So how much time do I invest in it? But I don't want to put out an inferior product or an inferior experience for the people that take the time to tune into me and ask for advice. So I think those two things are the biggest.
Yeah. So for me, it's very similar themes. You know, it's been a ton of learning for me. It's been great to help people and share information that's otherwise difficult. You know, I think a big inspiration for my channel is that, you know, you can't go to the store, right? And you can't look at these devices and touch them, which would be the most ideal situation. So I'm just trying to put together a channel that's kind of the next best thing. And there's other people that do great work around this too. It's not like I'm the first, and nor am I the best to do it. But to have my own voice, which I think is a little bit different than what the other stuff is out there, I think is helpful for folks. I'm kind of gratified to be able to help people in that way. In terms of challenges, you know, I think, I can't remember who said it. I think it was you, Ed. You know, the top down camera angle befuddles me. Like I can't get the lighting right, and I've been trying things all year long. It's the single biggest point of criticism people have had about my videos, and it's fair. You know, it's good criticism, but I'm still trying to figure out that those technical aspects of the lighting versus the shadow and all that good stuff. So that's that. Some of the technical pieces are difficult, which you'd expect for someone that had no technical expertise going into the venture to begin with. But yeah, it's my take.
That's always fun because then when you get it to the way you like it, then it's like very rewarding, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you know when I get there.
Well, and I don't know if any of you all encounter this, but my desk is used for so many other things. So like I have studio envy of like anybody who can have their desk set up to do this all the time. Because I don't. I mean, mine every day I've got to reconfigure it 3 different ways to do 4 different things. And then getting back to something that works is like, how'd that happen? You know, where did I place the camera that time?
Yeah.
That's
I'm with you. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Red.
no, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I was just gonna say I take everything down. Like this is my study. Like when I'm not shooting videos, I'm doing other things. And the last thing I want is all my gear surrounding me or obscuring my view of the monitor. So I'm putting it up every shoot and I'm taking it down every shoot. So if you walked in my room and I'm not doing a shoot, you had no idea I would be filming in here. I mean, you'd have to like look behind the monitor, you know, in these different nooks where I store stuff.
Yeah, and
Well, I definitely
every
envy
time
people
you
that
make
have
a video,
dedicated.
it's like you do kind of like a build around it, you know.
Yeah. I found a room and I threw all of this stuff in it and was like, I'm only coming in here for this stuff. Like, I because that's what I was doing at my last. I'm not sure if you guys know, but I started in one apartment and I moved to a different one. And you know, after I started making YouTube videos. And the last one, that's what I was doing. I was taking stuff down and putting it back up. And I was like, Jesus Christ, man, I can't keep doing it. It's just for me. I mean, because to like Vlad said, you know, he was doing photography before, so I'm sure you've accumulated tons of gear, you know, over the years. So same with me. I was doing traveling photography for a while, and I just amassed a ton of gear that I just decided to like throw up and repurpose for YouTube. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna find me a pole to like put all of the stuff on, and I have literally everything running from this one pole in the center of the room there. So I leave it there, and I walk in and I try to do that because I know what you guys are talking about, and that is a struggle, especially when you have a lot of stuff to put up. You know what I mean? I know that struggle for sure.
Do you guys mind if we cut in real quick to A5X2?
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah,
feel like
yeah.
that's like the most recent kind of news in the e-ink world. And
It's the hot stuff for sure. Take
Hot topic.
no, so I want to hear. I know I've watched some of your guys' videos, but we haven't really talked about it. The past couple times we've talked, we've been working with like tech issues. So
I want to start off with a hot take.
yeah,
I've said this before. But I'm gonna say it live for everybody to hear. The A5X2 is not coming out this year. Just it's not.
Oh.
So
Don't
that
get
means
your
the-
hopes
that means
up.
the A4X2 won't come out in December.
Absolutely,
Oh.
absolutely.
I had no illusions about the A4X2 in December, but I disagree, Rod. I think it's coming out this year. I think it's going to happen.
Agree.
We're gonna get into the specifics, but I just wanted to throw that out there first. Get it out.
You went for the juggler on that one, Rod.
Yeah, man. I mean, just like right under the radar. It's like, you know, I'm just going to kick this off and like drop it.
Yeah.
My vote's on this year.
I vote for this year too.
Okay. I do think it's going to come out shortly after the new year, though. January, February, Valentine's Day. You know what I mean?
Oh, God help them if that's the case, though. I mean, I can't imagine a worse time, a dead time in terms of getting people's attention and buying a product than January and February. I mean, that would be pretty pretty devastating.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Rod, you're from the retail space. You know, if this comes out as a February gift, there is nobody buying it.
No, and that's and I thought, and to be honest, when anyone would ask me this question in the comments, like when do I think the A5X2 is coming out, pre-letter, and we'll get to it. Pre-letter, I thought it's going to come out September, without a doubt. September is what I would have told anyone who asked me pre-letter, but post-letter, I'm thinking next year.
And just for everyone's edification, I think Rod's referring to the letter called, was it Chasing the Carrot?
Yes.
Which
I didn't even want to say the name.
Yes, rather
closer to the carrot.
Closer to the carrot. My bad. A release is a response, I think, to a lot of the comments taking place on the Reddit page about why the device hadn't been released yet. So, Ed, you are, although you and I both use our Supernote as a daily driver, you're clearly our resident Supernote expert. So, did you want to comment on that?
Residents. I don't know if you all saw on my page, but someone sent me like the most cool caricature of myself.
Oh, I saw
and I put it up on my YouTube page. And I was like, this is awesome. I don't know that I'm really the Supernote authority, like they said in the caricature, but I do use it, and I use it all the time. I mean, I kid you not. I used it through capital campaigns, huge, large organizational changes. I try to find the things that are kind of hidden or they don't talk about, and highlight those types of productivity pieces. Because I think there's a false narrative a little bit out there about books as the productivity platform. Because I think whatever makes you productive is your productivity platform, whether that's Remarkable or Supernote or whatever puts you in a flow state. But I really think it's coming out this year. I'm hopeful that it'll be in the end of this month or early November. I think because of the way they talked about skipping pre-orders and going straight to inventory on hand and kind of ramping up that manufacturing process. But also because I think they were trying so hard to hit that September deadline. And even on the back end, the contacts that I had, I would ask them, they're like, we're really trying to hit it. And they were saying it on Reddit and they were saying it everywhere. But when you're getting hundreds of angry emails every day saying, hey, it's tomorrow. When is this coming out? Hey, it's tomorrow. When's this coming out? Hey, 2 days from now, it's the end of the month. When's this coming out? Just the PR nightmare for a small company, partially self-inflicted, 100%. I think that they just got ahead of themselves. And I think their carrot analogy was, and you guys and I have talked about this a little bit offline. I think they meant well, but we in the West, especially in the Western market, think of the carrot and the stick. And to them, they were setting unrealistic expectations for themselves. And they were trying to tell us that they missed their own targets. And I think that's how I read it. Now you all are, I'm happy to have you disagree with me and push back on that, but I read it as in we overreached.
Yeah. Well,
and I think we're being public about it.
I know, Jeff, you talked about this, about how there's like two camps. There's like the group that is like, yeah, take your time, make a nice finished product. And then there's the camp that's like, hey, you've been, pushing out dates and like, we haven't seen anything. And I think it's kind of interesting because it's like, it's a problem that stemmed, I think, a lot from, in my opinion, probably like the Reddit community where they like shared a lot. And then that's kind of one of the nice things is like you get all these inside scoops. Like we already know a lot about the device and we've only had a small announcement of it. But like then it created this kind of feedback cycle where a lot of people are getting disappointed and they, inevitably had like some production delays. They're a small company. I'm sure nothing ever really like comes out normally on time unless they really try to plan for it coming out earlier and then it'll come out on time, right? Like if you just look at pretty much any company or any product that's like a smaller kind of firm, and so it's kind of sad now because like we're probably not going to get as much inside scoop on future things. But I also get it from a company's like PR perspective, where like letting all the users and like aficionados into this early stuff creates these false expectations, and it's a tricky situation, you know.
I totally agree. I mean, one of their major differentiators is this communication on Reddit, and I think probably epitomized by their roadmap, where you can see all the things that they want to develop over time.
The Trello.
No dates on the roadmap, which is good. I think ultimately my hope would be that they just learn from this experience and just refine what they communicate or what they don't communicate. You know, you can probably still be transparent, for example, on the technical aspects of here's some features we're looking at, and what have you, but maybe a little more quieter on the marketing aspect until they're ready to go. I would hope that would be the learning from this ultimately, and it could be. Like I don't think that there's anything about any of this that ultimately cripples them, other than the delays themselves. Like I'll go back to that anecdote. I can't tell you how many posts I saw where, you know, you've got a student basically saying, "Okay, I'm about to go 10.3, or is it the Supernote? Oh, there is no Supernote, so I'm going to go with the Go 10.3, even though they wanted the Supernote." So that this has hurt the company because of that. But you know, it's done. It's a sunk cost now. So going forward, I think they'll be okay. But and I do think they're going to release this year.
They'll make great products, so it's like it's not going to hurt them long term, I don't think. But yeah, to your point about like the technical aspects, like they released that color article the other day of like why Supernote doesn't use color. That's a perfect example of something that's like an inside scoop of their ideology, but isn't setting any expectations or anything.
And I need to just real quick, let me jump in because this came up. I posted late last night my reaction to the whole article, and someone dropped in my comments, and I have to verify it, but it supposedly came from the chief chat officer on Reddit that they've scrapped the A5 Slim because of the challenges that they ran into with the Nomad. They basically took challenges coming out of the Nomad. So they've kind of tried to make the A5X2 a hybrid, and that's what led to the delays. It was a full redesign to make it thinner while still modular. So if that's an accurate statement, and it was a long post somebody put in my comments about, you know, this is the quote from the company. Tell that story, guys. That's probably, to me, is they communicate a lot, but they're not always good at telling the story of why did we make this. That's a good story. You know, people love the A6X2. It's modular. It's 2 years ahead of the EU law. I mean, you can tell that story really well, but instead they're getting mired down and trying to respond to every comment. And I think that's a lot of what's hurting them. Rod, you had something to say. I didn't mean to cut you off.
So
Silent Rand, I love it.
I was about to go in. So yeah, I was good point you brought up. Because I didn't know that, and that makes total sense if you look at the design of it. Especially if you look at the A6X2, you would just automatically think the A5X2 was going to have a very similar design, just a bigger size, right? So the fact that the design is different does lend some credence to the fact that they could have done a design scrap and implemented some of those slim design decisions from the Slim into the A5X2. So I can definitely see that. But what I was going to say though, before you went in on that, is about the color that Vlad brought up. I don't think anyone even cares about color who's buying a Supernote. I know I've never thought to myself about my Supernote, I wish it had color. It never even comes into play. So I think it's a different kind of consumer who's buying the Supernote, and I don't think that consumer is concerned about color at all.
Yeah.
So someone says Soundwave says the iPad Mini 7 will be released.
The iPad Mini 7 is never coming.
And now they're saying we still have Echo again. But here's one. Let's see. Are I producing?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the right question. I've talked a lot about the fact that this is a niche market that doesn't seem to be it's growing, but it's not growing at an exponential rate. I mean, I think that's part of the reason why you don't see people like Apple or Samsung getting into the marketplace, frankly. Kindle obviously is the biggest player by far, but there's a different, there's a different kind of business strategy there as it relates to their selling books. So yeah, no, it's definitely, it's interesting. The letter that Retta put out was like, oh, we don't have financial issues. It's not really production issues, but it's, I guess, design issues we're assuming. But I'm kind of surprised at that, though. I mean, I do wonder how long can you go on without selling the A5X2 and still be financially viable? I don't know anything about their finances. In fact, virtually everybody in this space is a privately held company. Amazon's an exception, but they're so conglomerated, you have no idea, what the financial impact of their e-ink devices are. So we don't know. We don't know if, and we don't know what they're probably a subsidiary of another company. Interesting bit here. So going back to Viwitz, I ended up getting a pre, and so I got the mini. I think, Vlad, you got the 10-inch. I don't know if you noticed this in your shipping box, Vlad, but it didn't come from Viwitz. It came from this other company, and so I ended up doing some research on it. And the company that it came from, if I have this correct, is actually a company that builds like dental equipment. So, this is clearly like the subsidiary of a different concern. And so presumably that's a good thing, right? So you've got this parent company and it's basically saying, well, we'll invest in this company until you get going and become, can stand on your own 2 feet. I wonder if there's a similar situation with Supernote. I wonder if they have a parent company that's helping to kind of fund them and position them. And if that's the case, then maybe these delays aren't as big as they might otherwise seem. But if they're on their own and they don't have, all their funding is just from sales, then you have to wonder what this impact is. And definitely, if they don't make it this year, I mean, that would be pretty significant, I would think.
Yeah, if Rod's takes right, that I think that could hurt them if it's like next year. But then again, I think the Supernote platform itself is a very like niche platform where like people who like the platform, I think regardless of if they bought, a Remarkable Paper Pro in the meantime, they might still buy that because of the modularity and just the organizational power of it.
I'm just a riff on that. I'm really, in my mind, like there's like 2 separate markets. There's books and Supernote on one side, and there's everybody else on the other. And I'm not sure there's a lot. We're crossover. We're examples of some of that crossover, but for the most part, I think people live in one of those 2 sides. And I totally agree with you. I don't think the Remarkable, even the Pro, is so compelling that people would leave books for Supernote because you're giving away a lot of features.
Mm-hmm.
I think with the Supernote, for me, I don't think having a Supernote or being a Supernote owner just excludes you from using another device because of the functionality is so different. At least that's been my experience. I use it totally different. I write all of my notes and keep all my ideas on the Supernote, and I'll refine those ideas on a books product because I just have way more ways of handling the information once it's there. So, and I think a lot of people are the same way. A lot of people have the Supernote, the Nomad, and they use a 10.3 or a Remarkable or something like that that's bigger to keep like serious like document taking and stuff like that on. At least that's been what I've been getting from the people in the comments and from my personal use.
I would agree with that. Right. I think that, like, for me, the reason I use, and because I have the Nomad and I use it far less than I use the A5X, but I'm really intentional about what I use it for. So, I mean, I use tools like Obsidian and the plugin to pull in the handwritten text. It gets recognized, and now I have my notes and the handwritten text, and I can clean that up in a digital format that I can send out. So, for me, this, is all about note taking and brainstorming and writing, and
Exactly.
that's what I use it for. And if I need to, I can still check email. I see my Google Calendar, and I don't have to take my laptop with me unless I'm going to show something visually. But I switch from product to product based on what I need, rather than thinking. I don't say every book's user falls into this, but sometimes I think that we want e-ink to be the new iPad. And if you really want it to be an iPad, buy an iPad. But if you really need it to be something that is stripped down and used as a notebook replacement, it's perfect for that. Again, everybody's use case is different, but for me, it does exactly what I want it to do, and everything else is kind of gravy on top once they implement it and I figure out, wow, I can do this new thing.
So what about you and Vlad, Jeff? What's you guys' use case for the Supernote? Do you use it in conjunction with other devices, or can you see yourself doing everything that you need to do on the Supernote?
No. Okay. So my use case is that my Supernote is my primary driver, daily driver. I'm using that every day at work. Because I'm using it at work and I work in the healthcare industry, like I have to be super protective about that information. So I don't link that. I don't have any accounts on that device. I just use that device in isolation. It doesn't connect to anything. I don't use any of the integration features, for example, from Google for the calendar, just because I just can't do that. So that sits on its alone. I use the Note Air 3C mainly as the tool for video making, believe it or not. So I'll type out on my computer my outline of what I'm going to do in a video, and then I'll use the origami cover to prop up my Note Air 3C and then have my outline there in front of me so instead of a teleprompter, basically, I'm using the device.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm also using it as just like at home to-do lists. So they exist. I guess what I'm trying to say is I use both devices, but they exist in their own worlds, and there is no integration between the two for me.
Same, and that's exactly how I use it. They're two separate things, but I daily drive the Supernote 100%. Like if I don't touch any other e-ink product every day, it's that one, because it gets all of my thoughts. Every thought I have, every idea, every show note goes. So yeah, and it doesn't like you. It doesn't integrate with anything else. I just kind of, if I'm going to be manipulating something to a higher level, then I'll just rewrite it on another device.
So I use the Nomad, just like the sizing, really nice, daily carry around for me. Like I will always have my Nomad in my bag. Sometimes something else along with it, but I'll always have this. Just because and this is actually something else I think Supernote really has going for them, is like the pen. If you want a really nice pen experience, in my opinion, Supernote's the only one that has that. And so that's another factor I think that keeps people coming back to the Supernote as well. But I use my Remarkable pretty much for just big picture stuff now, like strategy. And then on the off chance I script a video, which I haven't really been doing much anymore, but then I'll use the Typefolio and kind of script a video. And then the Paper Pro, I'm going to start digging into like sketching a lot on it. But also that's kind of what I like the Nomad for, is it has Atelier and it's just like a nice little like jot pad for drawing ideas and stuff.
I want to riff off what you just said about the Heart of Metal pen, because I've bought 3 of those things, 2 original, 1, Gen 2.
Yep.
All have broken. I still love it better than any other stylus I've ever done. And to be fair,
how did they break?
So one of them broke where, the coil or whatever is out of alignment. So it's writing when you're not touching the screen, one of those situations. The other 2 broke where the Heart of Metal pen, because the heart itself becomes dislodged, and so it's shaking. So I'm said broken. I'm still using them. Let's see if I have an example here. Gosh, my.
Do you have the standard push up too?
I do. Oh, that one's fine. That one works. Yeah, that was no problem. This is, I think, the broken one.
Feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, it's funny though, Jeff, because I have that is a month full of pens. I have 3. So I have the original Heart of Metal, still works fine. Occasionally I pull it out because it's lighter. I actually like it. It's a little bit lighter than the second gen. I have a second one that I bought, and then I actually won the Christmas giveaway a couple of years ago. And they sent me one of the OM2 samurai pins. So I have that one. And
Who makes that one?
it's still
That's
Supernote.
Supernote.
It's just one of the variations
Okay.
that
It's
you
like
can
the-
order.
I think it's the most expensive one out of the Heart of Metal.
Yeah.
See, I don't have any
And
of
they
the
were-
Heart of Metal pins.
That's actually what they used in the promo for the A5X2.
Yeah.
That black sleek one, you know?
Yeah, it's really sharp. No, you should get one, Rod. I mean, I know you like your Lammy with your ceramic nib, but I'm telling you,
Yeah.
the feel and if you put the cap, hot tip that I've said for 2 years and nobody listens to me on this. If you have an HOM Gen 1 or 2, if you put the cap on the back of it and give it a slight twist as you push down, it will not pop off.
I'll try that right now.
Right?
Oh,
You
now I feel
twist
bad.
as you push down,
Okay. All right.
it will not just
Yeah.
fall off.
That
Nobody
seems
listens to
pretty
me on that. That was like the #1 trending thing on Reddit. And I kept telling people, guys, it's like a classic pin. You give it a little twist. So anyway, no, but I've heard of them breaking, and I don't know. The ghostwriting thing they fixed in the new software. I don't know if you saw that, but you can go in and actually. I had that happen with my put up pen a couple of weeks ago, where it started ghostwriting, and I went in and did the delay calibration, and it works perfect now.
Okay.
So
To try that. I don't know where that stylus went.
Have any of you tried
so-
making a custom pen, like with the ceramic refills or anything?
Rod, looking at you.
Yeah, I
You
did.
did the Lammy, right?
I did too. I did the Lammy, and I didn't make a video about it, but I did a regular pen as well.
Cool.
And just put the insert into a regular pen, and it works fine. But I have a question about the Supernote pens. They have some special like programming or something on those pens because nothing writes like them. Like even if I put the ceramic nib in different pens, nothing writes like the Supernote pens do. And I don't know. They have to be doing something special for sure.
Could it be the spring? Well, I was trying to think of, and you all may know better than this on me, but maybe it's something about the mechanics of how it's actually constructed
Exactly.
for the HOM,
Exactly.
but it's not.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's not. It's a lot different. I've been realizing that they all write a little bit differently, depending on who the manufacturer is. And I think someone even mentioned the fact that they can be, the characteristics can be changed. Maybe just how you're saying there, Ed.
What do you think the next software update is going to be with Supernote?
I'll start. I use the star marking system. I think everyone knows that. I would like to see a couple other symbols added so you could have different lists, but using that same basic functionality, which I think is superior to tags, but it's limited because you can only have the one symbol now. So you got a couple others. I think that would be
So you
That'd be
see
awesome.
different.
I don't know if
for
they're working
different symbols.
yeah.
Well, I would. This is my #1. If they did this, I would be so happy. I'd buy more Supernotes if you're listening, rather. If they would make the highlight feature, just combine the highlight feature and the keyword feature, so that when you highlight something, it just puts it in your keyword indexing. That's like,
Ooh,
I think they
okay.
should do that. I would love that feature. That's what they should add if it's up to me.
Kind of like
Hold on.
like
Let me
digest.
amend. Exactly, but let me amend that. Ed brought that up when I made this point in a video. He added the point that if they were to give you a tool selection when you highlight something, kind of like with the selection tool, when you get those at the selection site tools, if you highlight something and they give you a set of tools, and one of those tools were make this a keyword.
I think that would be a better implementation because otherwise you'd get cluttered with.
Yeah, and there's no graphical representation of keywords right now. If you make something a keyword, you have no idea you did that, other than
Agree, I don't like
checking your index.
Yeah, I would. I think that's a big. No, I think that's a big request. Also, one that's not mine, but shapes. People are straight lines and shapes. People are like clamoring for that. Mine is the basic thing because, like I've told you guys before, and I've told everybody, the thing does everything I want it to do. Everything else is extra. But the one thing it's really missing is multiple calendar support. If they could get that, I'm golden because I already have multiple emails, so I can see my personal email and my work email, and I can see. Again, I don't usually reply through it, but it's nice in a meeting to be able to pull it up and see it on demand. Same with the calendar. If they could add, it's kind of a two-part thing, but it's if they could add in multiple calendar support and writing on the daily view. They did that. I think they would replace a lot of the PDF planners out there. Sorry to those who are using those, but it would make it a fully functional planner too for someone, whether they wanted to be in or out of a software ecosystem like Google or Microsoft.
I think that as they start to release these bigger products like the A5 and A4, depending on when that is, they need to prioritize split screen, I think. Like a split screen view. I know Books has it, but I think that's like on the Nomad, it really wouldn't make a lot of sense because it's such a small screen. But when the A5 and A4 sizes come out, I think that's something they should really focus on.
Do they make different software for the different sizes, or is it the same?
I'm assuming, Rod, because the Nomad's 300 ppi, it probably scales perfectly to the new 300 ppi, right? Like on A5.
So they're using the same exact, because I know how Books makes different software depending on what device they're making, what size, different size
versus the others.
Well, I guess
Exactly.
who has a A5X? You, Ed?
Well, I do.
You, Jeff?
Yeah.
Jeff, you do too. So I mean, you can probably comment on that experience, right? The new software is exactly the same for both of them, right?
Yeah, well, they've got different like naming conventions. I think that's just to differentiate because like this doesn't have the dual slider.
Yeah.
Other than that, it does every single thing that the A6X can or A6X2 can do.
Yeah.
The dual slider function is your issue.
Is the 226 ppi, so they're scaling it different, but that'll be easier with the A5X2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I guess my last thing that I would like to see update software-wise would just be Atelier. Like, there really hasn't been a push since it launched for any updates. There's been a lot of like feedback they've gotten, and I know they're working on it, but I would like to see that implemented a little sooner because it's been since December now. We're almost pushing a year without an update on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think all they had were a couple of small bug fixes. I mean, really, the last update was mostly bug fixes, and I think they're waiting on
feature updates. Maybe that'll come when the A5X launches, A5X2.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah,
I was just thinking. We talked about the when the A5X is going to come out, and the big question for me right now is what is Books going to do now that Remarkable has released the Paper Pro, considering what it is and what it is not. You know what I mean? And also, because I'm just really interested in trying to figure out what they're going to do on that front now that the Remarkable Paper Pro has released, and kind of like what that might mean for the industry going forward.
So like a Note Air 4, you're saying something like that?
Or yeah, maybe whatever their response to this may or may not be.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I feel like a Note Air 4 is probably pending, right? Because like we have the Carta 1300 panel now, and the Note Air 3 is still using a 226 ppi screen, correct?
No, it's usually
no, I think that's right.
The Note Air 3, the Note Air 3C is 300 ppi.
Okay,
Lido,
gotcha,
right?
All right?
But I think the Note Air 3, the is still not 300 ppi. I think.
I think so.
I think you're right.
So that could be pending an update, I think, soon. But they've been really pushing their Go line, so
right.
I don't know.
I think Rod, your core question. Well, my where my mind goes when you ask your question is Gallery 3, and how does Gallery 3 fit on a Books device? And here's the problem, right? So Remarkable was a great place to do the second iteration of Gallery 3 because there's virtually no scrolling. And scrolling is something that Gallery 3 really doesn't do very well. The refresh rate isn't capable. Well, books as devices, for the most part, are quasi tablets that oftentimes do require scrolling. So can books just jump in with, say, a Note Air or a Go and then put the Gallery 3 screen on there? I don't think it could without like exposing some of those weaknesses. Now, if they try to change the UI where you don't have any scrolling involved, everything's basically a page turn, then that would help. But when you start doing Android apps, though, it's going to really expose that as a problem. So I think books is in a weird spot. Like, what do they do with Gallery 3? I wonder if they're going to focus more on the smaller screen sizes, where you're mostly using them as an e-reader. That will be fine for Gallery 3. That won't be a problem. Where you're 10 inches and larger, I don't know if they're going to go that direction, just because it'll look worse on their devices because of what they do.
All right, so here's a thought. Like, I know a lot of us have talked, and I know Kit's talked about this too, about like a focused mode on the Books devices, the Go one specifically. What if they had a Go that was like a gallery panel where the UI was much like it was lent better to what you're talking about, where it's less scrolling oriented and more page turning oriented?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that could be. But how do they do that without? Would they still have the apps?
Right, and you do need a front light too, right? Which is the Go lineup doesn't have that. So, yeah.
So here's my incoming rant. Sorry. This is where we get into the problem of wanting it to do everything, of wanting it to like be what, in my opinion, it's not. It's like, oh well, what if we add this? I mean, to make Gallery 3, I think, really flow well, the processing speed would have to be tremendous. And I think, Rod, you've mentioned that before, that the Remarkable Paper Pro, they could add enhanced internals. The thing would be heavier, to really kind of bump up that processing speed. But and you hear a lot about distraction free, and I get it. You can, silence your notifications. You can turn all that off. But why should I have to think about that every time I open up my device? Why should I have to think about changing modes all of the time? Sometimes you just want to pick up a device and have it work. And to me, Remarkable is the absolute best at that, even though I don't own one and it's not the device for me. Supernote is probably second. And then you get into the Android market to where it's kind of the Wild West. But yeah, I hear you, but part of me is like, come on, guys, is this really where we need e-ink to be? And maybe the answer is yes. I don't know, but it almost seems like a niche within a niche from my perspective with the color devices, unless you have a specific use case. And we've talked about sciences and other things where you really need color renders.
Well, I like the books devices, and I like the fact that you can, go into certain apps. Like Google News is one that I do tend to use quite a bit. But I think your core point is spot on in that, e-ink is great at two things. But when I mean better than what it replaces. So reading and writing. So I would rather read on an e-ink device than a book. I know not everyone shares that opinion, but that's my opinion. And we just demonstrated earlier in the video that I'd rather write on these devices than on paper. But when you start going beyond that, it does get, for lack of a better term, speculative to me. And even though I've enjoyed, again, like a Google News or whatever, it's not the core of what e-ink does really well. And I do wonder, like some of these other products that come out with e-ink, and they're just trying to expand the market, and good for them, and, for doing that. The Samsung and with monitors and what have you. But I do wonder, like, how successful can that ever be if those other applications aren't a superior thing to what they replace, like with reading and writing. And I think that's your core point.
Yeah, and I think it's doing your research. I think they should all exist. I'm not the guy who's saying, oh, don't build it. I'm just saying that do your research and find the device that fits what you actually want it to do. And if you do that, if it's books, great for you. If it's Remarkable, kudos. But sorry, Rod, I wanted to clarify, because I think I agree with you, Jeff, on that make sure it does what you need it to do, and then that's the way that should drive the decision making.
Yeah, I think they're all like good options. Like there's a device for everybody, right? So, and they all do something differently. So and because of that, there's enough room in the market for all of them to exist. But as far as where books goes next, I definitely think I don't think it's gallery. I don't think they can step into that for the same reason you said, Jeff, because they do a lot of scrolling. And it's multifunctional like that, and people that buy those devices kind of expect that. And if you get a device that can't do that, and it's a books device, then you kind of let down. But I do think there's a line to be drawn here between things looking good and things working good. And though Kaleido is not the best example of color on e-ink, it is a functional example of color on e-ink, and I think functionality wins over complexity every time. But I don't think they do anything different. I guess to go into my own question, I don't think they do anything different as far as what they're doing now, unless we've had this conversation before, Jeff, where you mentioned Kaleido 4. Maybe they would wait until that technology is available and ready to do something before they come out with new products, which I think would make a lot of sense. Because things can always get smaller, and the pixel density of Kaleido can always get denser. So and as a result, maybe the colors get a little bit more vibrant. I'm not sure how that process works, but I do think that's where they go. I don't think they make a move with gallery unless gallery is scrollable, and right now it's not.
Well, I was just let me riff off that because I think you're right. But then, so there's a piece of me that then says, okay, we all know, right? That there's going to be a books announcement in the next month or two about their fall lineup, just because the history tells us that. And my gut, and I think Vlad, you actually mentioned this too at a previous conversation. Like my gut is everything's going to probably be iterative, maybe a slightly larger battery, maybe a slightly better processor, but nothing. But then my gut tells me that they're going to surprise us in some way, and I can't think of what that surprise is. But let's put it this way: I do these videos where I try to predict the future, and I don't have any ability to do that. So I do what you would think I would do. I look at the historical pattern and say, well, where's that going? And I'm always wrong. So I'm wondering why I'm wrong here, based on what I just laid out. Anyway, go ahead, bud.
Well, so I have a question for you guys, but just to talk about that really quickly. So I think when we talked, we were like discussing so they had the Tab Ultra C, right? And then they came out with the Tab Ultra C Pro. So it's like, what do you come out with, like a Pro? Because like the screen hasn't changed, like the technology of Kaleido hasn't gotten better, right? So there's really not much to change unless it's like a bigger battery, but like that.
Would we settle for faster, thinner?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'm thinking maybe is like there's certainly room for now that we have the Remarkable Paper Pro, that's like a big color device. There's certainly room for a big Kaleido device,
like a 12-inch,
like a 12 or a 13-inch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a Tab X size device. But I was thinking the iPhone just added iPhone just added a button this year, and they called it new. So they could add a button to the side of the Tab Ultra Pro, C Pro, and then be like, here, new device.
Yeah.
The mobile spread. Yeah. The mobile spread has a button that you can turn on front lighting, and I like that button a lot. So that actually would be a cool.
Just like, listen, I'd buy that. I'd buy that.
Hey, here's something that actually dovetails on that someone put in the chat. It says, with the new modular design, do you think hardware-wise Supernote may focus on modular improvements rather than launching new products?
I'm wondering
that
about
requires a design change, I think.
I think it depends what it is, right?
Well, and what's modular, right? You could go the modular direction with the internals, but you could also go the modular direction with the shell. And I'm curious what direction, if not both, if they're going to go down.
Vlad, this may be perfect for you because you got the framework, right? So you've got the customizable PC or the laptop. What do you think? Because this is like down your alley.
So really quickly before we get into that, I just wanted to know what you guys think. Will Kaleido 4 come out first or Gallery 4?
Gallery 4. gallery.
Wait, oh, Jeff, you think Jeff, you think gallery?
I do. I don't think there will be a Kaleido 4.
Oh, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm going to be outlier here. I don't even care.
Jeff. That hits me right here.
Yeah, I don't.
For the record, just for everyone's edification, I feel 55% that's true. There's like 45% of me that's like, there probably will be a 4, but 55 says no.
You know what? I want to see if Kaleido comes out. Voya's reaction. Because he really does not like Kaleido. He thinks it's a dead end technology.
I Air 3C more now than I ever have because of how trash the gallery is on the Paper Pro. Like, I pulled out my Note Air 3C like, oh, I love you. I love it.
So Ed, what do you think? Wait, Rod, you said Kaleido.
I think that I think books may try a gallery screen. I don't know in the race as far as Kaleido 4, which one may come out, but I'm not a color guy on this. You all know that, but imagine Gallery 3 with the book's super refresh technology. And maybe if they can move those pixels faster, now your battery life's going to be atrocious, but could they do that? Because Remarkable is true to Remarkable, saying, oh yeah, you can just wait for it. You know, we're not going to add any specs. We're not going to beef up processors. We're not going to kill the battery. You just let it do that refresh. That's what it is. So Vlad, I wish I could answer directly, but I don't know. I think they might stay with the 2 for now.
I feel like I need to learn a little bit more about gallery because I'm just like digging into it now. I mean, Jeff, you've had the big me and all that. But from my understanding, I feel like Book Super Refresh would be trickier on gallery. I think just because of the technology difference. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, it feels like it's different, right? I mean, so just let's remember what we're talking about. So with Kaleido 3, it's a Carta screen with a color filter. So the Kaleido screen is black and white, negative, positive, and they're moving them around. The difficulty of Gallery 3 is you have 4 color capsules with different charges, and they're different sizes, and they're harder to move around. That's always been the challenge. So without knowing, and that's the extent of my technical knowledge, by the way. without knowing anything additional to that, I just wonder if the oh my god, you're getting crazy over there.
So I just bring up a little.
Oh, there you go.
Visual.
Very good.
We're talking. You're talking. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing.
Want me to make that full screen?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. It makes it look like they're all the same size. I don't think that's the case. I think they're actually different sizes in the capsules, my understanding. But regardless, so whatever they're using in Kaleido 3, I don't know if it would translate because it's such a fundamentally different underlying technology.
I would imagine they'd have to create something totally different to speed that process up for gallery.
Oh. So really quick, Rod, just if you guys look at the rates here. So the fast color, standard color, and so I mean, it sounds like just with the actual refresh rate time, I don't know if like having a GPU could actually fix that, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like I said, I need to learn a little bit more about it.
Which is why I think they're going to stick with Kaleido. I just think I mean, whatever technology we're using they can make it better. If they can't make it better, they will. And it's familiar, you know. I don't know. I definitely think that's an avenue they should explore, even if they don't.
Gallery, I mean, e-ink in general for these types of technologies was meant to be stable. That's the big problem. The big problem is they were used for signage. And like Gallery 3 was developed for static signs that only had to be changed every so often. So it's almost like we're trying to put a square peg in a round hole and make it do something totally outside of what it was designed for. Whereas I think Kaleido was kind of designed to be, we're going to put an overlay. Yeah, it's not perfect, but we're going to put an overlay that doesn't impact the device necessarily, but allows you to be able to see some kind of color. What do you think? I mean, to me, that's what they'd almost have to reinvent the wheel in some ways to get it working the way they want it to.
I think if they're going to do, I think when they create Gallery 4, whatever specs they use for it, I definitely think, to your point, Ed, I definitely think they're going to add some, or make sure that whatever specs they're trying to hit for Gallery 4 are going to be compatible with whatever we need for e-readers. I definitely think that that's going to be a consideration in Gallery 4 whenever they finalize those specs.
If one were to come out soon, I feel like Kaleido 4 would come out first, just because I don't think Remarkable would like use a technology that's going to be like then kind of maybe superseded right away. You know, like
they're going to
not even that like Gallery and Kaleido are like super comparable, but like we're saying, Gallery for Remarkable's use is fine because it's page scrolling, or not scrolling, page turning, right? But yeah, I think it would be interesting if like Kaleido 4 came out like in 3 months or something, you know, and then like it's like 200 PPI color and like looks way more vibrant or something, right? You know.
And that was my point at one point, was why would they do that? Why would a company who like sits with a technology for as long as Remarkable does in their devices, why would they settle on a technology that has a rapid iteration going on? Like, you know what I mean? It just and I guess to your point, Vlad, it just doesn't make sense for them to have done that, you know?
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'm going to push back on that though, because the Remarkable 2 screen, that's old technology.
Yeah, it was old when they used it, when they first implemented it.
Right, but my point is, ever since the Remarkable 2 came out, we've just seen nothing but iterations on the screen technology. So I don't know why this would be different.
What about this?
Here's say that because of how long they sat with the Remarkable 2. They sat with that for almost 5 years.
I get the point. The point there. I guess what I'm saying is I don't know that Remarkable picked the Gallery 3 with any expectation that the underlying technology would not advance. They had to just pick a technology and go with it. Going back to the reason why I am pessimistic about Kaleido 4, and I hate this phrase, but I'll repeat it. You know, it's been said that it's a dead-end technology, and I don't like that because I like Kaleido 3. I think for what it does, it's really good, and it's actually amazing how they cover up some of the flaws, like the 4,000 colors, for example. Yes, it means that a lot of your images aren't faithful color-wise, but how they kind of fill those gaps, unless you have the source material, a lot of times you wouldn't know. But it's just I don't know. Are they going? How would they improve it? Would they up the number of colors? It's been at 4,000 for a long time. The resolution at 150, like I don't. It just feels like I don't know where that advancement would come from. And again, I'm not a tech guy at this level, so maybe it is possible to make it better, but it just feels kind of to me like it's been so static in some of their attributes for so long. I just wonder what could possibly be the next thing for it.
Well, if you look at like Kaleido 2 or Kaleido Plus to Kaleido 3, it is a pretty big noticeable like contrast and vibrancy change, I think.
Yep.
Is there a resolution change between those two?
Yeah, it goes from 100 to 150.
Okay. You see what I'm saying? Like,
so that's what I'm saying. If they go to like 200, that's like a significant upgrade over 150, right? For color.
And think about the fact that they can make it thinner, which would make it a little more transparent, which would brighten the screen up a little bit. I mean, I'm just trying to think of ways that they may be able to do it because I want it to happen.
Yeah, no, Rod, what you're saying, Rod, like the black and white contrast, that can always be improved, right? Because that's one of the biggest drawbacks of Kaleido 3. So there's room for improvement there. So even if the color like levels, like you're saying, Jeff, don't change a lot, the 4096, like if that remains static, that's fine. But if they can improve contrast alone and PPI, like that's a big enough upgrade, I think.
Yeah. If they come out with 300 PPI Kaleido 3, I'm on it.
Yeah.
You know, one thing though, I just want to jump in real quick on this because I think it's important. One thing it'll be interesting to see if Amazon does something crazy with e-ink again. So if you all remember, the 300 PPI came out specifically on the Scribe. So I think if there is a not a Kaleido 4, if there is a Gallery 4 in the making, I wonder if,
on Scoop
because
Stuff.
they've got the bandwidth to do it.
Yeah.
Now, again, this is speculation, pure and simple, but they did that, and they had like a moratorium where all these other manufacturers had to wait
Would that kill
to
Remarkable?
come into that 300 PPI.
With that
Yeah.
Just wondering, because they're the only big player.
One thing to keep in mind in this discussion is that e-ink is not secretive about their technologies. So Gallery 3 and Kaleido 3 were both announced 2 years ago, I think it was, actually within a month of each other. And a second version of Gallery 3 was not a secret either. The surprise was it was Remarkable on a 12-inch. In their financials, they talked about it being on an 8-inch device. That was the only surprise. So I haven't heard e-ink talk about Gallery 4 or Kaleido 4. So it doesn't. I would be shocked if we heard anything about those technologies on a device this year.
That's a good point. And I didn't know that Kaleido was e-ink. So that was my misunderstanding. I thought they did the Gallery, and I thought Kaleido was a different manufacturer.
Oh,
So
no,
that
it's
was
the
my
whole thing.
misunderstanding.
That's another interesting topic of like Gallery and all these things. They're all are pretty much e-ink, right? Do you guys think there will ever be a company that will be able to compete with e-ink or have any sort of like share in the market?
I think ink is going to be the only player in that market for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
They just got it unlocked. Everything I read is just they're entrenched in this. Like no one ever. I don't even know if anyone's ever even been mentioned as far as starting up their own e-ink. Do they even have the Do they have the patent on this still?
I think the patents run out.
Well, so I
Okay.
know it was invented in 97 at MIT,
Yeah.
which is actually across the bridge
Yeah.
for me. But I don't. Yeah, so I mean,
Was it 15 years?
patents are like 17 years or something.
I think so, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, it's expired. But like, also if you boil it down, like that picture I was showing, like of was it Gallery, like. The actual, if you think about the technology that's happening, it's pretty wild that they can like miniaturize that to such a small point. It's like, I don't know if any company can really
That's what
like
I'm saying.
reinvent the wheel in that way, you know?
I think that's the problem. And actually, that's a great point. In that the Gallery is under a new patent. So you have to keep that in mind. I just think ultimately the amount of money you'd have to spend on the production capacity, even though you could do it, is probably what's keeping other people from going into that market. It's like basically saying, I'm going to compete against Lego.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do it. It happens. There's Mega Blocks. There's a couple other things like that. I'm sure these references are totally meaningless to you, but the point is, there's this competitive advantage that anybody can do what Lego does, but they have these production advantages. They have the branding advantage, and so people that tried generally don't succeed. I think that's where e-ink is.
Books Go 10.3. I don't own one, but it's probably the most interesting books device to me personally. But someone's saying, is it even future proof? Do I return it?
I mean, I think for the price, it's pretty future proof. Like Carta 1200 is great. 300 PPI,
No, keep that 10.3. Whoever, calm down, bro. Calm down. Everything's going to be okay. You keep that 10.3. You got the best e-ink contrast device on the market. No one's touching that contrast for a long time, man. You're good.
I think that's great. And I'm gonna throw something in here. And we talked about this offline yesterday. But the 180 on some, and I'm not gonna name them, but you guys can if you want, on the no front light, when it comes to the Books Go 10.3, that being okay, versus on Remarkable and Supernote, that being the end of the world, and we're just all going down.
No. He's touching a nerve. I can tell he's been waiting to say.
Those of you who know me know what this is about. There are certain in the community who say that if you don't have a front light, it's not even worth touching. But yet now Books did it, and it's all right.
What do you think, Jeff?
All right. We're so here's my comment on the question. Going back to the question. When I first started 3.5 years ago, I bought the Books Note Air, the original. I did leave it for the Supernote. I didn't throw it away. I gave it to a coworker. the coworker is still using the original Note Air to this day. The reality is these devices have long legs, and it's just like a car, right? If I bought a car today, it would have a certain level of tech, and then a few years later, you can buy cars with even better tech, but you still have a good car. And that's the case with e-ink. They actually can last a long time.
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, my A5X does exactly what I wanted it to do, and I would keep it. And anybody who bought, if you like the Go 10.3, I'd say keep it. There's no reason to get rid of it. It's priced right, and it does good stuff.
My sister still has a remarkable one, and it works fine.
There you go.
You know,
And in my 10.3, besides the Supernote, sees the most use. I'm telling you. Like, so yeah, you're good to go, bro. Good to go.
We're
I
unanimous.
will say that I'm excited about the A5X2 because it goes back to the Mobius screen. That's the only thing on the Nomad that isn't my favorite. I like it and it writes good, but it's just a little too hard. There's not as much give as what you get when you get that feel right screen with that plastic give.
Yeah.
I enjoy writing on the A5X more.
Well, so I touched a little bit about this on a video recently. The interesting thing is that I think Supernote, like, even if they wanted to add a front light, I think they kind of have to stay without a front light because of Feel Right 2, because it adds more distance, right? And so if you're adding like a front light and that, so I'm actually curious to see the new Mobius screen if the pen to paper distance is better than on the Nomad. Because from my experience on the ViewWoods AI, like the pen to paper distance on this Carta 1300 is like insane. Like I was like looking at it really close the other day, and it's like it feels like you're writing like right on the paper. It's less than the Remarkable 2. It's obviously less than Supernote because that's Feel Right 2.
There's no front light with that, right?
No, just the Mini has one.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's got a little front light.
But the larger size.
Hey Rod, speaking of that pen to screen distance, and this is I want to riff on that. So the Pen Star, which is another one that I have. It intrigues me because of the fact that it kind of reminds me of old school tech when it comes to the stylus for everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it removes layers. So to Vlad's point, does it feel that much different when you write on it?
It's weird. The Pen Star is the writing experience is unique. I don't like the writing experience. Let's put that out there, and that I guess may have an effect on how I see that distance, because technically it is the shortest distance you can get on any device that's out right now, because it doesn't have that EMR layer, and it doesn't have the Wacom layer, and it doesn't have
doesn't have a digitizer.
Front light. Right, it doesn't have the digitizer for touch, so it doesn't have any of that stuff. For the devices that I have, it definitely has the shortest pen to screen distance, or display distance.
I'd actually be interested to see what the actual. I think I was searching on their site. I couldn't find the actual distance.
Yeah, it's really nice though. It's super close, but the writing feel keeps me from like really enjoying it like I do on the 10.3, I guess.
Yeah. One thing, so I agree with you, Rod. Like the writing experience is it's weird. It's like really scratchy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Almost like I feel like too much almost.
It is. It's granular, very granular.
Yeah.
And I like hard nibs, and I think picks up all of that.
I was looking at it the other day. I feel like the screen is very textured.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you feel it, it almost feels a little like rough glass.
But it doesn't look that way, and it doesn't feel that way with the stylus.
Yeah. But one thing I do like about it is I think the no digitizer is actually kind of nice, because I like never have to worry about falsely pressing on something.
Exactly.
And that's something like I've had sometimes, because this has the buttons now on the bottom. There have been times where I like activate something just by accident. And that's kind of nice, not have to worry about that at all. Like, you know.
But you know what's on the other end of that, what's cool about the Pen Star 2 is that what I will say about this is that with the buttons here you got on the sides, it makes knowing that you're going to undo and redo something so satisfying, because it's not like, oh, it could like register, it might not register. it's registering every time. So it's just a sense of confidence you get with the buttons that's on there. So that's something I didn't think about before that has been super assuring when I'm writing. I know that where the button for erase is, I know where the button for lasso is. And it's not a problem. Like I know it's going to actuate. So that's been the biggest thing for me with the Pinstar, especially with not having a digitizer. Those buttons have been a savior. But I will say one thing about the buttons though before we move on to something else. They should add dedicated navigation buttons for when you don't feel like picking up that pen and doing everything with it. Like something that you can just up, down, left, right, select would be super awesome.
Ed, I realized I totally forgot to answer your question earlier. You were asking about modularity. Someone had a chat comment, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about the framework. Okay, so I think it's interesting because like the framework year over year, they pretty much put out the latest in either the Intel or AMD chips. And now it'll be interesting to see if they put out because Snapdragon's starting to make PC chips too. But those year over year improvements, like doesn't really make sense to do it year over year, but like maybe every like 2-3 years it does. But just that you have the option to do that's awesome. And I think the biggest kind of factor for upgrading those, while there are some speed boosts, is like the actual battery, right? So they're getting way more efficient. And so year over year, you can like keep your battery and just keep upgrading the chip and your battery life just like starts to get better and better, right? But that's interesting because like e-ink is not known for bad battery life. So I don't know if like they're gonna put out any new like chip anytime soon, like the SoC. That's the system on the chip, if anyone in the audience doesn't know. And so like I don't think year over year that makes a lot of sense to upgrade. I'm assuming down the line like we will eventually see one. But I think it'd have to have some really new like efficiency or like technology in there, or like maybe an MPU or something like. And then battery tech, like the other thing you could upgrade in it, is really stagnant right now. We haven't really seen like much increase in like the actual efficiency or like longevity of batteries. And maybe the density has been improved. Like the framework, the 13-inch, they recently released a higher capacity battery that fits in the same exact kind of casing for the battery.
I would answer that question and say, no, I don't think they're getting into the upgrade business. I think they're giving you the choice to be able to do things you want to do outside of their normal software and their normal hardware. They ship with whatever it is. If your battery does die, you can order it from them. You can order it from somewhere else and you can replace it. But I don't know that they're going to get into selling components as like a main revenue stream. That wouldn't be what I would think.
So I'm curious, Ed, do you know, like, if you go on the Supernote website, you can't just buy a battery, can you? Do you have to contact Supernote to do that?
I think currently, I think their goal was to get it finalized. Again, they were on an accelerated timeline originally for the A5X2, and I think they were going to kind of have those available. Also, I mean, I've had my A5X, like I said, 3.5 years, and I'm seeing little to no battery degradation. So I think they're kind of like, what are the odds of that happening within the first year of sales? And if it is, we'll troubleshoot it on a one-by-one basis. But I do think down the road, they'll either have a supplier or point you to where you can purchase a compatible battery. That would be my guess based on what I've seen them do in the past.
And the A5X2 battery should be pretty good because it's bigger. It looks bigger than the Nomads, you know?
Yeah. Hey, Rod, you got a fan getting up to go to the whiteboard. They were
getting up to the whiteboard. Yeah, people clown me in my comments for my whiteboard. That whiteboard,
I love it.
No,
the whiteboard is hanging tough over there.
Rod, the Pinstar can't go on there, right? Because it's not a magnetic back.
Yeah, I tried.
The Supernote can't either.
Nah, like, but you know what? That's fine because Supernote stays on the desk anyway. That gets regular use. But everything else is to be able to
Rod,
go grab it.
You could probably jam a magnet in there.
Listen, I'll try it too.
Don't give that advice. I don't want to put a magnet next to the SOC or the back.
Remember, this is on my channel, Vlad. What's going to happen is somebody's going to do it, and then there's going to be like hate comments down in the bottom going, somebody told me to.
Vlad said I could put a magnet in the back of my e-ink tablet.
Nomad dies the next day.
But on a serious note, though, this whiteboard has been so nice. And when I realized I could do that, it's been a game changer. I'm telling you, it's just, yeah.
Whiteboards are the most underrated technology. As somebody who works in academics, I've seen spaces where they take all the whiteboards out, and the first thing students do and the first thing the professors do is say, why'd you take all the whiteboards out? Mm-hmm. And we have 2 of them in our center with Rocketbook beacons around them.
By the way, just so everyone's clear in the audience, what's happening is Rod has a magnetic whiteboard. So a lot of these devices have magnets because that's how it attaches to the folio. So he takes the folio off and sticks the device onto the whiteboard. And it's actually quite amazing how well it holds.
Yeah.
And I'll link your video down when we do the post on this. I'll link some of your videos on all this stuff.
Well, you know what? I'll say this. And I was going to make a video, and I probably will, explain the proper way to do this because I've had a couple of accidents. I ain't gonna lie. A couple things.
Next week's video, my remarkable paper pro shattered.
So what I had to start doing is grabbing them from the bottom while I'm like pulling it from the board, just so me grabbing it doesn't push it down, and then it falls and hits the floor like it did twice. The remarkable paper pro, that thing's resilient. I'm telling you, that thing smacked the floor twice. No problems. Like, it's not scratched. It's not dented. No, that thing is amazing. But yeah.
I need a graphic that says, do not try this at home.
Yeah, don't try it at home.
Do this.
Unless we were in the process of trying to take it off the board, you're telling us nothing's ever fallen, right?
Right. Exactly. Yep. Like vibrations in the apartment, nothing like moves them. But to be fair, though, my whiteboard has like a wooden border at the bottom. So if they were to shift a little bit, it would hit that border and kind of stop it from shifting.
They have that.
But I've had no problems, though. No problems.
Somebody lobbed that one in there.
No. It'll be fine. I'll get used to it. I'll get over it. But I would not have asked for a half folio.
What do you think, Vlad?
I mean, I'm kind of 50-50 on it. Like, I think if they are launching with a half folio, that means the device has to be pretty robust because you have the back exposed all the time. I mean, well, Rod, the Pen Star is the same, right? Like the back is kind of exposed. It is a half folio. I haven't really like taken that thing out and about, so I can't really comment on like the wear it's gotten.
I put feet on all my devices, so it never really sits on the back.
Got you.
The Supernote has those.
I mean, I do like the mechanical aspect of the new folio design because now there's no magnets in there anymore. And yeah, like I said, I think they'll make a full folio. I don't know. It would seem weird not to. But
that shape though doesn't lend well to a full folio.
No, you're right. It'd have to be pretty custom.
Yeah, they'll inset it and inset the feet too. It'll be really weird.
Yeah, because of the taper, right? I think because of the taper, it is hard to make a full folio. I still think it's possible, but what would that even look like? I don't know. Anyways, yeah, what do you think, Ed?
I actually like it because I don't like the half folio as much. I like the design language. So I like the mechanical side rail. It reminds me it's a callback to this with the mechanical rail. And if you look at some of the pictures, and Vlad, I think you put up that like hidden image that was in the web HTML that shows the pogo pins. I think it opens up. I mean, Supernote right now is the only device that has Word natively. Like you can create a native Word doc without an app on it, but their typing experience, latency-wise, is pretty comparable, but support-wise is awful. So it doesn't have keyboard shortcuts. It doesn't have, I mean, it's not a good experience to type on the device. But if they fix that, if they figure out to do something similar to what Remarkable's done with the Type Folio, you could theoretically type a Word document in real time on the Supernote And then when you sync, that then goes to your cloud service of choice,
Yeah.
and you're all ready to go.
That's a good point, Ed. I think that's something that Supernote should really focus on, because the typefolio is very basic. Like, there's no spell check. There's nothing, like, there's no advanced features. It's just basically a typewriter. But I think there is room for stuff there, like you're talking about with MS, docs and stuff. And right now you can use the Supernotes with a Bluetooth keyboard. And if they come out with a typefolio as well, there's a lot of potential there in the writing aspect. And like, I think you mentioned, Ed, it was like, you're like, it's for those who write, and like typing is a form of writing, right? So
yeah. And I think it does leave open the full folio. Like I said, it would be a design challenge a little bit, but who was it? Was it Kobo that had the one? And I think you're going to see this when the A5X2 launches. It's conjecture, but I think you're going to see like an insert that can cover that mechanical piece. Basically, I think it was Kobo. You peeled it off, you put the half folio in, and then you put it on.
Referring to Pocketbook?
Was it Pocketbook? I couldn't remember which manufacturer. That's where I thought they were going, was kind of, you have this placeholder, because otherwise you're going to get dirt in there, you're going to get all this stuff in there. And they put the pin loop mechanical. So theoretically, you don't need a cover at all. You just take this thing with you everywhere you go. If you're in an office environment and you don't need a cover, you could have that placeholder that makes it look flush.
So
do we know if that pin loop thing is detachable from the A5X2?
Yeah, there's screws on it.
Oh, so it is detachable.
So Ed, if you can see here, the Pocketbook, it detaches.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
It's got the pogos, and it's got like a little clip system. And then there is, like, I think what you're talking about, there's a little thing that comes, it's in the box somewhere, but that if you're not using a folio, goes there and makes it look like the rest of the back,
Yep. That's exactly it.
And then it kind of just magnetically pops back in.
I like that a lot.
Yeah,
so I'm wondering if Supernote's going to do a mechanical version of that. And again, conjecture, we don't know, but it would make sense.
Yeah. And for a type folio, I think the type folio has to be a full folio design, just because of the complexity of moving the keyboard, of like when you do it, right? I mean, I feel like that would be tough to make a half folio type folio design if they did something like that.
Yeah, because the actual hardware with the screen would have to have some kind of kickstand.
Yeah, and you normally need like more than one part just to angle it up at that point,
Yeah, that'd be almost impossible.
Yeah.
And there's a rumor that that's why it's not symmetrical, is because of a possible type folio. Now, I don't know why that would make a difference, but there's a reason. I mean, maybe it was because of size and because of just real estate. I don't know. But what do you think, Jeff?
I don't like type folios. I know they're popular. I know Remarkable and Books have both, released. I actually have one. But if I'm going to type, and I do a lot of typing actually, if I'm going to type, I'm going to do it on a full mechanical keyboard in an ergonomic position, which is my desk computer. I guess if someone were more mobile and they're out in the field, then I get it, but I'm not writing out in the field. I'm writing at my study. So I don't, to me, it's just, I feel this way about laptops too, actually. So this is not a specific criticism to e-ink, but if I had the option to write on my desktop computer versus a laptop, I'm taking the desktop every day of the week, twice on Sunday, because it's comfortable, it's ergonomic, it's the biggest keyboard I can possibly have. I'm making compromises for that mobility, which is okay if I am mobile. But I remember, last point I'll make on this. I remember when I'd first gotten my first laptop computer, and I was so excited about it. This is like decades ago, okay? And I was so excited because, like, yeah, I can go to the coffee shop and write. And when I found out, is like, actually, that sucks. There's nothing better in your closed environment where you can control it. You have no distractions, and it's comfortable. And so I've given up on mobile writing ever since that experience. And I'm just not into these keyboard covers.
I 100% agree with you. I mean, really, I think it's a cool thing. And one thing I do admire about Supernote is the options. So the idea, if you want this to replace a daily paper planner without connecting to any kind of services, it works. If you wanted to do, all of these things have dual purposes. And I think the option of a keyboard for someone who likes that makes a ton of sense. Personally, I write on it with pen and paper. And you're right, Vlad. I think you do write both ways, but I'm kind of in that camp of I'm going to use the big screen and type because I know the latency is perfect. I know that all the tools I need are there, and I'm not struggling to try to fit, into a use that is meant to be specific on the go, mobile, whatever it have. But I agree with that.
Two more things about the Supernote. Really quick, the pen loop being detachable. Do you guys just think that's so you can customize the pen loop or like take it off if you want?
They've got a huge Etsy community. They've got a huge, they've got a lot of followers who like to customize the device. But I also think it was a design decision so that if you don't want the folio, since it now has the rubber feet that I know Rod is a huge fan of, you don't have to. The pen loop is completely optional. And the folio is completely optional. So you could just have a slab and use the big mug of pens like Jeff has, and you're all good.
What was I going to say? Oh, I hadn't thought about this before until you just mentioned it. But they must be selling different loops with each folio. So if you have different colors, it comes with its own like loop that would match with it, and then you'd replace it out. I don't know why you would take out the loop if you're mobile at all. Because then you'd have to carry the device and the stylus separately.
I wonder how easy it is to pop that off, because it didn't look like screws. It looked like they're definitely metal. Like they almost look like little like rivets. I don't know.
When they released the Nomad, they had the tool specific so you could unscrew the back. I would imagine they would do the same thing with the loop.
Yeah.
It was just a small
like snap into place. Like they look like snaps to me. I could be wrong about that, but I think it's a good use case to remove that loop. Like for me, I take these devices and I'll put them in holders, and maybe there'll be third market cases for them, and you might want to take the loop off for those. So I mean, I know of at least one use case I would not want that loop on my tablet for like you when you like how you use your Note Air 3C, Jeff, as a kind of like a teleprompter. I would kind of use that like that in that fashion. And that loop.
I think Rod, I think you hit it right there, because when I mentioned Etsy, although I'm not on there, but there are so many customized cases and sleeves, and a sleeve is a perfect example to me of why you wouldn't want the pen loop. And you would just want to put that in a sleeve and it just works. So I think that's a good decision on their part, because it's the only way around it.
Right.
If it's not attached to the case.
I want to go to that comment though. So just riff off that comment about crystal for the A5X2. If there isn't a crystal version for the A5X2, I will be disappointed. I'll get over it, but I will definitely be disappointed, because if the crystal Nomad makes it look so much slicker to me. Not just the backside, but how it makes the device look a little bit slimmer.
In front, like
it looks great. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
So
one thing, and this goes back to our folio conversation, is when you like they're kind of, I think they must be acrylic, right? But they are very scratch prone. So for a half folio design, it seems like that could be an issue.
Yep.
But I mean, I think it would still look cool, even though it wouldn't envelop the whole back of the device. It'd be almost like a little, like, like a Ferrari engine or something, where you can see the little cutout of like the internals,
Somebody said that they said no. Now I'd have to, kind of check that just to make sure.
Too, like that's something someone could craft on their own and sell on Etsy, right?
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
You could even make it out of glass so it's less scratch, prone.
That's true.
I think if anything they've learned, I think if anything they've learned is when they sent this for review, I mean, it just looks cool. I mean, this is the thing I show people. It's like, this is like you said, the Ferrari engine, exposed. It's kind of like, how do we make this look as cool as possible?
Yeah, I mean, I remember
But it slows down production.
When I saw the promo content for the Nomad, I was like, okay, I need to get that device. Like, it was an instant sell. Like,
But form over function, Rod, I'd rather, in hindsight, have probably taken the one that has the peel off back, and then that could be interchangeable.
But that's why I chose it too. It was just because of that reason. Is to take off back. If I want to change the color or something, it was an option. But I will say, I don't like the way that clear version looks from the back. I don't dig that at all. But you know what I do dig? I love the way it looks from the front.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take it.
How that clear border around the edge of from the front looks so nice. Oh my goodness! It just adds a like 100%. I don't know how you could have beat that.
Yeah, but I think that also now they only have to produce one model. That's what they ran into big problems with the A6X2 was they backlogged on the crystal horribly, and it took people forever to get those in versus the other model. But then again, it's hard because I use the A5X more. Even though I carry both to work, I still reach for the A5X. I just like it.
The bigger screen.
It's just my go-to. Well, it's not even that, because I found that when I write on the Nomad, my writing actually adapts. And so if you look at a note I wrote on both and the scaling, they look almost the same. So I kind of adapt to it, but it's the screen. The screen it feels really good, but it doesn't feel as good as to the A5X. With the Feel Right 2. I have the Feel Right 2 on the A5X.
I would.
That's right. Started updated, yeah. So yeah, your screen is gonna feel like the new A5X too, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the original Feel Right better than the Feel Right 2.
Oh, hot
I
take.
think I would as well. I'm not gonna lie. I think I would as well. I haven't tried it yet, but something tells me I'm gonna like that one.
Well, you have the Feel Right 2, Rod.
I mean the Feel Right one.
It came on the number. Oh, you think you'd like the original? I didn't dislike the original at all.
Yeah, I think I would like it.
So what made you upgrade, Ed?
Well, because of the Nomad, I didn't realize at the time when I asked Supernote, I said, curious to see what this feels like on a different screen. And so they sent me one. I don't mind that kind of stickiness a little bit that starts and then wears out, but it feels, I don't even know how to explain it. It feels even more to me like writing on a pad of paper than the Feel Right 1 did.
The 2
does. The Feel Right 1 or the Feel Right 2 feels more like writing on a pad of paper.
Okay. Good to know.
And I think that that's the sensation that was almost there with the Feel Right 1. It's the closest of anything I tried, whether it was Remarkable and I haven't tried a Books device, but I've tried Remarkables. But the Feel Right 2 just enhanced that experience. And all of a sudden it was like, yeah, this feels like I'm writing on a legal pad. It doesn't feel like paper, like a sheet of paper, but to me it feels like that legal pad feel.
Nothing feels like paper, though. I'm sorry, it doesn't. I've actually tried, side by side, and nor do I care. By the way, like this isn't even a thing for me. But every device has its own specific auditory feedback, and I actually think they're all great. I like them all, but nothing simulates paper. And unless you're talking about pencil and paper, that one I would argue Remarkable comes pretty close to. But the Remarkable 2, that is. But I don't know why people care. If you close your eyes and you think right now, if everybody goes to this exercise, you close your eyes and you imagine writing on a piece of paper. Can you hear it? You might be able to, but I can't. I know when I do it that is writing on paper, but I'm not looking for these devices to capture that perfectly, which is great because they don't. Sorry,
I just don't want it to feel like an iPad. I agree with you 100%.
Oh yeah,
writing on an iPad is a horrible experience.
Right.
You know what's interesting is like I have Feel Right 2 on my Remarkable, And it feels, even though like the Nomad's glass and the Remarkable's glass, the fill rate 2 on the Remarkable 2 feels very different than on the Nomad. I don't know why.
Oh, interesting.
It should, like,
That
it
is
shouldn't
interesting.
theoretically, but it does.
Yeah, it's really bad. I can't say really bad, but it's something that you definitely are going to encounter, and it's going to be enough to at least frustrate you once or twice, in my opinion. But you know what though, I would take that if they just got the gestures down. If that didn't affect the gestures for the screen that much, I wouldn't care about the palm rejection as much.
And that's why I said it was for you, because I don't have issue with the gestures,
Me neither.
but I know that you do, and other users do. I mean, it's a real thing. I've had plenty of people, not just you, say it on Reddit and everywhere else, that the
It's
gestures
frustrating.
are broken.
Makes me just not. I just like decide to not use them and just go to the toolbar. That's why I'm so happy
Yeah.
I got the landing with the button. Like I don't have the issue.
See, I love the tactile, have the erase on the sidebar, and then have the
Yes.
selection on the screen.
Maybe I should.
To me, that's like I swapped that. Yeah, sorry. I have that swap. I love having that dual so that I don't have to go to a toolbar. I love that. And it works on mine. So maybe, maybe they just sent you a little.
You know what? They better do me right when I get this A5X2. They better do me right.
That you're going to get next year. According to you.
Word. What?
Okay.
Never.
I just want to be clear.
Has anybody tried the paper like on the iPad, by the way?
I installed it on my friend's iPad for her and used it for a bit, and it's better than the stock iPad experience, but it's not going to be anything like these e-ink tablets. And I think that comes down more to the actual stylus tip on the Apple Pencil.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think if you have an iPad, it's worth getting a Paperlike. But I think we're all in the camp here of like, there's a reason e-ink's so good, and it's because of the outdoor viewability and stuff like that, the non-distracted nature. So they're, in my opinion, they're very different. Like,
Yeah.
Hey, one question I want to get from you guys real quick, because it's got me like, you mentioned the stylus tip. Did Remarkable make a huge mistake in going away from Wacom? Or is that the right move for what they're trying to do?
I think it was a definite bad move. Like, I don't know about anybody else, but I noticed the line quality difference, and I'm like, oh, this is terrible.
The little jaggedness.
Yeah, that.
I don't really like these things having batteries.
You're right.
That too.
But yeah, and then the other thing is just like the price, right? It's like those markers are expensive.
And you can't use like any of the other stylus you have. And like take Jeff, for example, you got a whole trove of them you can't use with this device. So yeah, exactly. So you find one you like, you spend years cultivating a collection of the ones you like, and you can't use it on this device you spent all this money on. It's like, that's a bummer.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't mind the Remarkable using it, but I'm with you. I mean, Wacom's great. I don't think it's better than Wacom. And to your point, yeah, if I have a stylus I really like, I can't use it on the Remarkable Pro. So yeah, I mean, it's fine, but ultimately I hope that's not the direction people are going. Wacom's perfect for me.
Although I will say, I think that is the direction people are going, though. I do think the whole market's going to go this way with making these proprietary stylus. The Pen Star, you can't use that pen on any other device, and you can't use any other pen on the Pen Star. So I think there's a lot of companies going that direction. So just throw that in there.
No. I think that's a valid point. I don't know, and I apologize if I mispronounce his name, but Khalid. He just put out a review, probably one of the best reviews I've seen on the Paper Pro. And he mentions that even though it's is it USO is the name, or US?
Universal Stylus Initiative, I think.
USI. Okay, USI. Even though it's a USI stylus, he had like 4 of them there and they didn't work. Like hardly at all on it. And he was like showing the jaggedness even with the Remarkable pen, which he said that happens on the Remarkable too. But he did a really fair comparison. Kit even commented and said, "This is probably the best review of this I've seen so far." And Jeff, you did a really good side by side with those too. So I think it's a mistake. I think Wacom's been around for a long time, and it's the best in the game when it comes to reliability and just functionality. But that's just my hot take on it. I'm surprised, but not surprised that Remarkable went that route, since
I'm
they're kind of the
Apple.
Apple.
I think maybe the main reason for them doing it was the pen to paper distance, because they removed the Wacom layer because they had to add a front light because of gallery.
Yep.
And so maybe they didn't really have an option, because how does that look from a marketing perspective if the Remarkable Paper Pro's pen to paper distance is bigger than the Remarkable 2, right? That's not
going backwards.
That's not really in the ethos of Remarkable, I don't think. But I kind of agree with you, Ed, there. Like, I mean, I like the ceramic tip so much that I put Feel-Rite 2 on my Remarkable, right? So, like, if the Remarkable Paper Pro had Wacom, when the A4X2 comes out, I would buy one of those and adapt it onto that, but I can't, because it's now an active USI. I don't know if it's exactly USI, it's a very similar standard. Because I think Kit pointed out in one of his videos that the USI pen he got to work on it, like, it was not nearly as good as the stock pen.
The Kobo device, it's not terrible, but it's a forgettable stylus. I feel like I'm almost writing with a crayon with its thick tip. And it's charged as well. I'm not a fan. I like the Kobo device.
Are you talking about like the Libra color or something like that?
Yeah, Libra or Ellipsa 2E is the same.
I'm going to put a link to all of our channels in there. So please, if you subscribe to me already, subscribe to these guys. They're awesome. If you're new because of this to me, please subscribe to me. Shameless plug. But we'll be doing more of these, and appreciate your time today. Y'all have been great.